Ok, boa tarde a todos. Sejam muito bem-vindos a mais uma atividade da Semana Internacional do CEFET-MG. CEFET-MG Campus Mundos, informar-se para transpor fronteiras. Hoje é o nosso quarto dia, tivemos já aí várias atividades que estão gravadas e disponíveis aqui no canal do YouTube, e ainda teremos muito mais atividades interessantes até amanhã. Eu sou Liliane Neves, coordenadora de Cooperação Internacional do CEFET, e desde já quero agradecer à diretoria-geral e demais setores que tanto nos incentivam a realizar este evento. Agradeço também pelo apoio da Secretaria de Comunicação, na pessoa do Júlio Sardinha, que está aqui nos bastidores, e da Brígida Ornelas, que fez todas as peças desta Semana Internacional, e também aos alunos do curso de hospedagem pelo apoio técnico. Hoje tenho o prazer de estar aqui para apresentar esta roda de conversa super interessante com um tema muito relevante para todos nós. A pauta de hoje é Talking About Writing Skills for Academic Purposes, que foi proposta por um professor muito querido do Departamento de Linguagem e Tecnologia do CEFET, a quem desde já eu quero agradecer pela excelente iniciativa. And now I would like to invite Gláucio Fernandes to be here with us, who will introduce our guests, present and moderate this event. Gláucio is a professor at the Language and Technology Department at CEFET-MG, where he works as an English teacher, Portuguese as a foreign language teacher, and also other subjects related to language studies. He holds a doctorate in linguistic studies with emphasis on teaching and learning foreign languages from Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais, UFMG, a master's degree in theoretical and descriptive linguistics with emphasis on corporate studies from UFMG also, and he graduated in letters, licenciate in Portuguese and English from Universidade Federal de Viçosa. Welcome, Gláucio. Thank you a lot, and feel free to moderate this event.
Thank you, Liliane, for the kind and generous presentation. I'd like to thank you and the Secretaria de Relações Internacionais for the opportunity to participate in this roundtable, together with two very special professors. As soon as I invited them to take part in this roundtable, they accepted, which made me very happy because we worked so close during the Writing Skills for Academic Purposes course. And beforehand, I would like to thank the RELO office, which is the Regional English Language Office located at the U.S. Embassy in Brasilia, for allowing us to participate in the Writing Skills for Academic Purposes course. So our presentation today is based on this participation in the course. To start with, I would like to invite Kate Kessler and Mônica Guimarães to be here with us. So hello, Kate. Hello, Mônica. Welcome to CEFET-MG. Thank you very much for taking part in this roundtable, sharing your perspectives, your thoughts, experiences about the course. So welcome. And I would like to introduce my guests. And after that, Kate will start the presentation, right? So, wait a minute. Kate Kessler holds an BA in linguistics from the University of California at Davis and an MA in applied linguistics from Teachers College at Columbia University. She has been teaching English as a second language for 15 years and has worked in Los Angeles, New York City, Indonesia, and on cruise ships. She has also worked for the State Department as an English language fellow and an English specialist in Indonesia and Brazil. In the last 4 years, she has focused on teaching academic writing for research purposes, but she loves teaching all the aspects of language. So, Kate, thank you very much for accepting my invitation. and being here with us today.
Thank you. All right. I'm very happy to be invited to speak today. Thank you. All right. Julio, can you share the presentation? Thank you. Great. All right. So yes, it's morning here in Los Angeles where I am. I guess it's afternoon where the people in Brazil are. Thank you for letting me speak today and share about this project that I worked on with Gláucio and Mônica. So yes, I would like to speak about specifically the topic of designing a flipped online course for academic writing skills. And right now I'm a teacher at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. That's actually where I am right now. I'm in an office at the university. And I also have been working as a specialist for the English language programs, which is connected to the RELO that Gláucio mentioned, the Regional English Language Office in the embassy in Brasilia. Okay, so I'm going to talk today about how I worked with RELO to create this program, and then how I worked with Mônica and Gláucio to actually use the program, use the online teaching program. All right, and so a few objectives by the end of my presentation. You'll be able to define the term flipped learning. And also you'll be able to explain how to design an online writing course using flipped learning to teach international students. I know this is an international conference. All right, so first of all, yeah, the first question is flipped learning. I think everybody might have a slightly different definition of what it means to do flipped learning. So I guess you're welcome to type it in the comments if you want. I don't know if I'll be able to see them fast enough, but I'm curious what people think about what flipped learning is. So maybe I'll wait 30 seconds or 15 seconds. If anybody wants to define flipped learning. Feel free to type it in. I see that it's in Portuguese, sala invertida. Inverted room, I guess. I was going to translate that. Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look at a definition that I found in my research of what a flipped classroom or flipped learning is. According to this article from 2020, Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Gláucio. I see your comment. Interactive group learning activities inside the classroom and direct computer-based individual instruction outside the classroom. Yeah. So that's one definition that I think is probably the most agreed upon definition. But the thing is that when I taught this class that we designed with students in Brazil, everything was online, right? So for the online only style of flipped learning, we had 1 week for the students to complete each online module. And then I provided, as the facilitator, I provided online feedback throughout the week. And then we met once a week for 90 minutes on Zoom. And I also created the whole course within Canvas for free. So Canvas has a free online learning platform for making modules within a course. All right, so let's go back a little bit to basically the initial steps for how this course was designed. So the population, I knew that it would be in Brazil. So Brazilian undergraduates and graduates from federal institutes. I think I don't need to explain this to people in Brazil. But for America, I had to kind of explain that these federal institutes I think there are 38 of them all over the country, which is really neat. Here is my first group of students. I actually mapped out where they were on a Google map so that we could see how international, how unique they were in all different parts of Brazil. They were not international, except for that I was from the United States. But yeah. And then the level was minimum B1 level, according to the Common European Framework. So that's intermediate. So intermediate and higher. Wide range of majors. Students that were selected came from all different backgrounds. And then there were 20 student participants chosen at random we had 450 applicants. So they just randomly picked 20 students to be in the academic writing class. All right, so what were the goals of the course? According to the regional English language officer in Brazil, she wrote that academic writing, quote, does not receive sufficient introduction nor practice in the Brazilian education system, and students without these writing skills remain disadvantaged in further educational opportunities. So the goal was to improve academic writing for the purposes of undergraduate and graduate study. Therefore, the modules were organized according to academic writing skills that could help all aspects of academic writing. Also very cool is that all materials will be openly licensed with permission to share nationally in Brazil and beyond. And again, the platform was using Canvas. The project had 4 phases. The first phase was the beginning of this year. I had about 3 months to create the modules on Canvas and to get feedback from the relo. Again, this is the person who has, the relo is a person who has a background in teaching English, but now they work to, from the US State Department to kind of increase the teaching of English around the world. So it's an official office. So this person worked with me and she helped me to design the course. And then in phase 2 was piloting the program. So that went from March to May with Brazilian students that I just described in the previous slide. And it consists of 8 modules that the students complete in 8 weeks, so 2 months. Then phase 3, this is where Gláucio and Mônica came in, was we then piloted the course with Brazilian teachers. So the teachers were like the students and they were giving feedback on what they thought was good or maybe what needed to be improved. And that was the same thing, 8 weeks. And then finally, the last phase was when I worked with only Mônica and Gláucio to teach the course. They taught the course then to a new group of Brazilian students who volunteered to take the course. So it was led by Brazilian teachers and the students were also Brazilian. And I just kind of stepped back and gave feedback or gave tips if they asked for any help, which they didn't really need. Yeah. Okay. So let me talk briefly about the course design. And then I think Gláucio will add more to this when he speaks a little bit more, Gláucio and Mônica. So again, yeah, the design is that students have 1 week to complete. For example, the first week they have to complete all of the materials in module 1. And then I can see when they submit some of the assignments, I can see and I can give feedback. And then they meet with me. All of the students meet with me on Zoom for 90 minutes once a week. And the typical meeting when we had a live session would be a warm-up. So something to kind of get people speaking in English and reviewing and getting to know each other better. And then we would review the module if there were any trouble spots. And then finally, I'd give some kind of additional task to kind of practice together with the other students. And then a wrap up to preview what's going to happen for the next week. Here are, on the left, you can see the proposed plan by the relo. So the relo said, we want you to cover approximately these topics in each of the 8 weeks. And then the final plan is my final organization of the 8 modules. So they're actually pretty similar. First is academic writing introduction. I added that. And then week 2 was vocabulary. So just like how to improve your vocabulary building. Week 3 was focusing on the structure of the paragraph. Week 4 was the essay, so the whole thing. Week 5 was the writing process. So brainstorming, writing a first draft, revising. Week 6 was sentence variety, which is mostly just grammar focus, but focusing on how to have well-structured sentences. Week 7 was incorporating outside sources, so paraphrasing, summarizing. And then the last week was citing according to the formats that are required. So the relo wanted me to cover APA style, which is the American Philosophical Association, I think. And then the other one was the MLA. But I think it depends. I know that there's a different citation style in Brazil. All right. And then briefly, I'm just going to show kind of how the modules were organized. So let's look at, for example, Module 5, which was about the writing process. At the beginning, there would be a list of objectives. So students should be able to achieve these things after they finish Module 5. And you can see, if you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, those verbs, those kind of action verbs were used in the description of the module goals. So for example, the first one, by the end of this module, you'll be able to identify and explain the significance of the main steps of the academic writing process. You'll be able to describe at least 2 strategies for brainstorming, apply main ideas from a brainstorm to an outline and from an outline to a first draft, prioritize which is most important to edit in multi-draft writing, and then use self and peer revision to improve drafts. So these were the goals to accomplish in the course of Module 5. Every module had at least 3 videos. So they would watch these videos. The videos ranged in length from about 5 minutes to maybe 10, never more than about 15 minutes, because that's just too long to watch. And then 3 to 4 comprehension checks. So those were like really simple quizzes just to make sure that the students got the main idea from the video. And they couldn't continue in the module until they got the comprehension check correct. And then they could move to the next part. Then there were tasks that the students have to submit on Canvas. And these were the ones that I would check, and I'd give them feedback and say, oh, you need to keep working on this aspect of your writing. Self-evaluation was at the end. They would kind of check how well they felt they understood the objectives. Then there was a traditional multiple choice quiz with 5 multiple choice questions, reviewing again the key content from this module. The students had to participate in a discussion board. And then finally, there would be additional links and other sources that they might want to use to explore even further. So here's kind of what it looks like in a Canvas module for Module 5. You can see in this case, there were 4 parts. The first section was free writing. So there would be a video for that, and then a comprehension check or a concept check. And then the second part was brainstorming, outlining, and then the last part was drafting, revision, and editing. So here's an example of a concept check. After the students watched the video, they would have to answer, for example, what are the 2 brainstorming techniques in that Module 5 Part 2 focuses on? And in this case, the answer was, let me see if I can remember. I think it was listing and a mind map. Yeah, so it was the last choice. And then here's an example task. This looks like a pretty hard task, but trust me, it wasn't that bad because they had to choose one of these types of essays, and the students have already seen these essay prompts in Module 5. So this was reviewing already some essay prompts that they have read before, and then they had to practice brainstorming for how they would brainstorm one of these essay topics. And then they had to submit their brainstorm to me. So here's an example of a student submission of a mind map. And then the final task for this one, because it was the writing process, they actually had to write a full essay following the steps, right? Doing the mind map, doing the outline, and then in this case, writing a first draft and hopefully writing a second draft. But keep in mind, these students were volunteers, so a lot of them didn't have a lot of time. So in this case, often I think it was the first draft. So they would submit a first draft of an essay for the final task. And here's actually an example of an essay that one of my students submitted. And you can see how I gave feedback. So I gave both positive and negative feedback and say, like, these are some transitions that would be better. Your thesis statement is good. Your restatement of the thesis is good. So this is just showing an example of online feedback that I would give. This is the part where the student's working at home, completing the module. And then at the end, there's the wrap up. So the self-reflection survey, the quiz, the discussion board that they were required to participate in, and then additional links and suggestions. And then there's actually even a teacher's guide, because the idea is that other teachers can use this. So they might want to look at the guide for ideas about teaching it. So here is the discussion board example for Module 5. Again, this is talking about the writing process. So I had 3 questions that students could respond to. Their assignment was to answer at least one of these questions with at least 150 words. And so the first question was about which brainstorming strategy is your favorite and why. The second question was about, do you think that you will follow all of the recommended steps for brainstorming, outlining, drafting, getting feedback, etc.? And then the third question was about, do you think teachers often ask, or sorry, why? Why do you think teachers often ask students to get peer feedback as part of the writing process? And is peer feedback valuable to you? All right, so they had to post, they could choose how many questions they wanted to answer. And then the step 2 was to reply to at least 2 other students by the end of the module. So you can see an example here. This is a first post by one student. I've removed the name and the picture. So this person replied to question 1. She said she thought mind mapping and listing she thought that she could use both of them. But after she did the practice, she discovered that mind mapping is not for me. She said she tried to do mind mapping, but it was a huge struggle because even though I was able to organize the sections clearly, the subtopics was a mess. So that was kind of interesting. She learned about which type of brainstorming is most helpful to her. And then she answered number 3 about peer feedback. And she said, it's amazing to have some feedback prior to submitting on the day of the exercise, but it's quite hard for me, principally when it comes to English exercises because of 2 reasons. So she said she doesn't know very many people who speak English. Most of them are still at the beginning level. And then the second reason is she feels like she's being a burden by asking them for help. So we can see a couple other students replied to her. The first person said, I feel the same about asking someone for help because people have their own things to do and they hardly ever are related to the subjects that I'm studying. And then the other student also replied, so they're both focusing on her answer to number 3 about asking for peer feedback. She said, I feel the same when I ask for help. She doesn't know very many people who speak English very well, so she feels weird asking them. So yeah, so this is kind of just like a more informal way for students to talk about how they can improve their writing skills in the discussion board. All right. So I want to briefly mention a little bit about the live sessions. So again, everything I just showed you, that's all students are doing it on their own. But then we had a live session for 90 minutes in the Zoom where we could talk with each other live. And just to review again, 90 minutes. And then I did have some examples actually, but I can't really show them right now. So I'm actually going to skip that part. But here is a screenshot of when I was reviewing one of the modules. So you can see I had like a PowerPoint and we're reviewing the task 5.1 where I asked students to do a free write. And you can see some of the students in the upper right corner. And I was showing some of their work that I thought was good. So I showed an example of one student's free write that I was like, this is a great example of free writing before you do your outline. All right. And then finally, I'd just like to talk about the lessons that I learned from doing this course. And there were 4 lessons. The first one was that students actually watched the videos that I made. So I made, again, informational videos, 3 to 4 of them in each module. And I thought, no one's going to watch these because they take time to watch them. I also provided just the PowerPoint slides. But a lot of students told me that they actually watched the videos. So that was nice to hear that the time that I made those videos was worth it. The second thing that I learned was that it was not very collaborative to do this type of flipped learning online course because, of course, everybody's in a different location. Everybody's completing it on their own. So I was a little bit disappointed that it was so individual, right? Students didn't get a chance to really work together very much, except for during the live Zoom session. Number 3, internet access is unreliable. not only in Brazil, in many parts of the world, including where I live, we have rain and sometimes the power just goes out. So that was challenging sometimes for the live sessions because students would join and then they would drop out. And then they would join and then they would drop out. So sometimes they just couldn't join because of electricity issues. And then the last thing was number 4, which is that students volunteered to take this course in addition to their regular coursework, which is amazing. I'm so happy that they took it. But it also meant that, this was not a course for credit. It was just for their own learning. And therefore, it was sometimes hard to keep them in the course. Like sometimes they dropped out. We started with 20. And by the end, there were only 14 in the first module the first pilot that I did with the first students. So it was sometimes just hard for the students to fully commit to doing the whole 8 weeks, because this is in addition to their regular course. And some of them had jobs too. So it's a lot. So I wish that maybe someday the students could take this class for credit to get course credit for it. Nevertheless, I did get really good feedback. This is from the last week of the course. I asked students to do a Google survey. And so one of the questions was, as a result of this course, I feel my academic writing skills have improved. So on a scale of 1 to disagree to 5 totally agree, you can see the majority of students felt that their writing skills did improve as they took this course, which was very nice to see. And then I also had some written feedback that was helpful. So one student wrote, "It's very important for me, the weekly sessions. This synchronous meeting helps to keep me motivated." So some of them really enjoyed the fact that we met live sessions for 90 minutes. The second comment, "I could improve my writing skills in all modules. They helped me so much. Now I'm able to write much better than when I started the course." And then the third point, "The content that I learned in this course will be valuable for me, not only using the English language, but also the Portuguese language." So that was nice to hear that hopefully, even if they don't go on to speak English or write in English, then maybe they can still use these skills for writing in Portuguese. All right, and actually that's the end. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect to be done so fast, but that's basically it. So thank you for listening to my part. I'll pass it off to Gláucio.
Thank you very much, Kate. And congratulations for the course, because all the steps are very organized. And something that I saw is that it flows in a way that students and teachers can follow all the process, right?
Great.
So it's easy to follow. It's impressive how you could develop it, like in the first part where we had to develop a paragraph from a wide to a more specific point. So it was really, really good. And I can say it as a participant and also checking the students, how they could develop their skills. So congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I'm really glad you participated. Now you're going to share about what it was like for you, right?
Yeah. And I'm very glad to participate. And there is something that I need to mention is that I just participated because Liliane told me about the course.
Oh.
Yeah, I was there was a holiday, and she told me about this, and I just subscribed.
That's great. Thank you, Liliane.
All right. Also, I would like to present our colleague from the Instituto Federal do Tocantins, Campus Gurupí, Mônica Guimarães. Welcome, Mônica. Welcome to CEFET.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you. We had a lot of time together.
Yes.
We had a partnership teaching some students and learning with Kate. So it's a pleasure to be here and to share our experience.
Yeah, I thank you for accepting my invitation. And I would like to present you. Mônica has been a professor at the Instituto Federal do Tocantins, Campus Gurupí, since 2019. She works as an English teacher in the integrated technical courses and in the civil engineering course. In addition, she coordinates the Instituto Federal do Tocantins Campus Gurupí Language Center, besides working as a tutor for the English for Tourism course offered by Ministério do Turismo. She holds a doctorate in literary studies, 2020, from Universidade Federal de Uberlândia, a master's degree in applied linguistics, 2006, from Universidade de Taubaté, and a degree in food engineering, 1989, from Universidade Federal de Viçosa. Letters, 1991, from Universidade do Vale do Paraíba, and mathematics, 2017, from Universidade Federal de Juiz de Fora. She has been a professor at the Federal Network since 2018. So, Mônica, thank you again for being with us. Now I'm going to ask Julio to present our PowerPoint presentation so we can talk a little bit about our experience in, taking part in this program as students, and also taking part in this program as facilitators, right? So this presentation is about the course Writing Skills for Academic Purposes. Me and Mônica, we took part in this course and we worked together during the second part of it, when we use it to teach. And you can go to the next, Julio, please. And the objective here is talk about the teacher's training course, which was the first part of the course, and also the weekly facilitated live sessions we led, me and Mônica, okay? Kate was our English language specialist, so we took time to discussing and talking about the program, the course. And the length, I put here 16 weeks because it was 8 weeks taking the course as students and 8 weeks giving the course as facilitators. The next. Right, the first part about the teacher training, the writing skills for academic purposes. It took, I can't do that, I forgot. I can pass it, all right. We had meetings every Tuesday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And the schedule that we had, as Kate said, it started on May the 17th, the module number 1, and it finished on July the 5th, which was the module number 8, right? So we have this time to discuss with Kate about our perspectives, our doubts, something that we could see during the week, during the program, right? And in the second part of this, in this part, me and Mônica, we worked as facilitators in the writing skills phase 4. We had meetings from 10 to 11 a.m. every Saturday with students, which is really good to, it's really impressive because it's Saturday morning and we had a good participation. Like we had about 10, 12 students each Saturday. So I think it's a good participation because it's Saturday morning and they were really involved in the activities, in the tasks. And so we had these live sessions, which started on August the 13th, which was module 1. And the last module, module 8, it was on October the 1st. So 8 weeks for this module, for this course. Okay. I would like to talk a little bit about module 1. And to start with, this module is specific, it was specific about the introduction to academic writing. And in here, we could discuss the essay structure and the paragraph structure. So that's something that I told Kate. It's good to to let students notice how it works. So from the general to the specific, how they can imagine the essay, but in a small perspective, starting from the paragraph and then going to the essay. And also we could discuss about some common academic essay genres. So in this first module, in module number 1. Module number 2, and that's the one I like it very much because it's about vocabulary. So in here, we could talk about academic word list highlighter and gap fill. Also, we could work with the COCA, which is the Corpus of Contemporary American English. And this corpus I used during my master's degree, so I could see how it developed from 2012 to 2022. So it was good to work with the collocations, reducing be verbs, and also working with the precise nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So module 2 was more specific about this. Module 3, we could work with the well-formed paragraphs. So starting analyzing and developing the paragraphs with students, okay? The paragraph movement from general to specific, also analyzing some of the topic sentence practice, supporting sentence practice. I think that module 3, you taught, right, Mônica?
Right, it was
Yeah.
me. I got all the, not the pair ones.
Yeah, I remember
1, 3,
this.
5, 7.
Yes. So it was good to talk to students about what they understand by topic sentence, by supporting sentence, and also giving the opportunity to analyze the complete paragraph, right?
Yeah, this is a subject that's very interesting, not only for English writing, right, for our own language. So I teach Portuguese too, so it was very interesting. It's good to work with it, so you can see, especially the cohesive devices, how to use it, and how the student has this view. He can learn this a little bit more specifically about this kind of word. So it was very interesting and very helpful for me as a teacher, right?
It is. It is. And when teaching and also when getting this information as students, we start thinking about how good it was to have this class, like when we were in the graduation course, right? To
Yeah.
check
Yeah,
this.
sure. That's for sure. But it is important to see this effort to teach more about the English language, because it allows our students now to go further.
Mhm.
It would be great to learn this when I was in college 30 years ago. But now these young people that we met, that Kate taught on the phase 2 of the project, so they can learn more and they can go further. So this
Mhm.
is very nice.
Yes, totally. And also we could practice with the cohesive devices, so students could see some uh, perspective about cohesion and these perspectives. Module 4, so we here start with the well-formed essays. So we come from the paragraph to the essays, and we could introduce the practice with body paragraphs, and also the conclusion, right? So here we start developing the conclusion, because in the previous module we didn't. So here we could start with this, and also writing a conclusion and bringing it all together. So students could start organizing the essay from the introduction to the conclusion. And it took time for students to do that, but it worked. Module 5, the writing process. About the writing process, we started with the free write and coming to the timed brainstorming and outlining practice, and also the full writing process. So this is the part that Kate mentioned in her presentation, where we could we could ask, we could develop it, and we could ask students to develop the brainstorming, the outlining practice, and also to show them how important it is to plan before writing, right? Because some students just write and that's it. So mention how important it is to planning first, right? And it's necessary.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? I think it's the hardest part of the process of writing is to teach to plan your text. So you don't it just the student thinks that you just sit down and start to writing. No, you have to plan, and you have to draft it. I mean, you don't write just once. Maybe you have to write 10, 20 times the text so it be at least good enough, right? It's not a simple process. It's not something that you do like this, right? It's not magical.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard work.
It is. And that's something that I try to bring to my classes. I teach English for teenagers, so that's something that I bring to them. Like, let's plan first, and then we go writing. So to show them how important it is. About module 6, which theme was the sentence variety. We could talk about the clauses and make a review about it, the dependent and the independent clauses. We could work with the Kahoot with students, which they like it very much. And also the sentence types, which are the simple sentence, the compound sentence, the complex sentence, and the compounding complex sentence. I don't know if the people who are watching us know about this type, but the simple sentence is when you have just one independent clause, right? The compound sentence is when you have two or more independent clauses. The complex sentence we have when you have one independent and one or more dependent clauses. And a compound complex sentence is when you have at least two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. So working with clauses, showing students the differences between the types, it was really good and also really hard. And you can say, Monica.
No, this is an aspect of teaching writing that is really hard, but also something very interesting because actually the student sees the use of the grammar knowledge on the practical way because you see the difference between those kind of clauses and how does it work in your test. So this is a very interesting thing to teach. Not easy to teach, not easy to learn. But when you do, then you discover a whole new world in the writing world.
Yes, and that's how flipped classroom help us a lot, because if they study before, like we Kate record the video, so they had this contact before, and when they come to class to the live session to check their doubts, so it's an opportunity to see what they learned, what they understood, and what kind of doubts they have, and we can solve together in the live session. And also we finished here with the common sentence structure errors, talking about comma splice, fragment, non-parallel form, and choppy sentences. So these are things that we discussed. Module 7, incorporating outside sources. We could talk about the outside sources, paraphrasing practice, evaluating summaries, writing summaries, and a quotation quiz, right? So here we could talk about summarizing, how we can summarize, how we can avoid, how we can develop the paraphrasing, right, and avoid plagiarism. So it's something important to talk about when teaching academic writing. And module 8, citing sources. It's about citations. We worked with the citation terminology quiz, in-text citation, reference list citation, and also the styles that Kate mentioned. The APA style, American Psychological Association. It's used in education, psychology, and sciences. And also the MLA, Modern Language Association, which is used in the humanities. So these two styles are the styles that we worked during the classes. And also, Kate mentioned the Chicago Turibian style, generally used in business, history, and fine arts, and the IEEE style, used in engineering, computer science, and information technology. So talking about these styles were good because we could compare with the ABNT that we use in Brazil, and also see the similarities, see the differences. There are specific differences, like when you have a comma, when you have a double dot. I don't know how to say that, but it's good to check it. A column, yes, or a semicolon too. And it's good to talk about this with the students. Here we have a picture of our students too. Me and Mônica, we were the facilitators, Kate, the English language specialist, and some of the students in our last class. We had about 12 students, isn't it, Mônica? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
around 10, 12 students.
Yes. So we could have a really good experience working as facilitators, and also as students in the first part of this course.
Yeah, it was a very good experience. It's always good to be in class and meeting new students, new people, and then we make some new friends too. Now I
Yes,
have a new followers in my
perfect.
Instagram, right? So this is very interesting. It was very rich experience for us.
It is. It is. And also having students from different parts of the country. So it's good to.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'm always feeling hot here in Tocantins, and we had students from Rio Grande do Sul, and they were cold, and we almost forget that we have some cold weather in Brazil. So it
Mhm.
was really really nice to interact with people from all places in Brazil.
Yes. And that's it. I put here my email, and I put your email, Monica. I didn't ask you,
Okay,
but I
no
put it in
problem.
there.
There is one question here. What is the biggest challenge in this type of course? I think the biggest challenge, I will start because I will have to leave because I have to teach a class now. I think the biggest challenge is to keep the student going on, and the interactions between students, it's kind of hard too, because they only have these real interactions during the live session and the forum where they write or comment the answer of the colleagues. It's not really interactive, so I think this is the biggest challenge, but it's really a nice way to learn English, to learn more, and you don't have to leave the country, so you don't have to go abroad, right? You can learn right here. So I think this is the biggest challenge. And I will take this chance to say goodbye because my students are getting here in class and I have to teach now, okay? It was a pleasure to be part of this program. And if I'm always here, if you wanted to invite me again, it'll be a pleasure to be participating. Kate, we see each other in
Yes.
Instagram, or maybe, who knows, I'll go to California. And Gláucio, we have to meet in Minas Gerais when I'm
Yes.
on vacation in Uberlândia, so it's close to Belo Horizonte.
Come
Okay,
to Belo
so
Horizonte to visit
Thanks,
us.
Monica.
okay,
Thank you, Monica. Thank you
bye
very
bye,
much for your
guys.
time.
Bye.
Nice to meet you all that are watching us, and see you sometime. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good class. And
Um,
talking about the challenges, I think for me, I had I have problems with time as always, because having this moment like 1 hour on Saturday to interact students, to involve them, to get them know each other, developing the warm-up activity, so it takes time. And also giving them a feedback about their doubts, about their difficulties that they faced, developing one text or another task. So the time was a challenge. But even with 1 hour a week of live sessions, students could interact. So it was really good how they could know each other and developing a kind of friendship, talking to each other, using language. So as Monica said, it was and I always say this, it's a kind of internationalization at home. They don't need to leave the country to have this experience. They can have this experience in here. So it was a challenge, but it was a good opportunity to have this. What do you think, Kate?
yeah, I think I would agree that the challenge, well, for me, I didn't actually have so much issue with time because I was on vacation for a lot of the time that I was creating the course. So I wasn't teaching full time the way that Gláucio was. But for me, I guess the most challenging part was the students who couldn't continue in the course, because as I mentioned in my part of the presentation, they all did this as volunteers. So it just meant that, if they were too busy, they had to drop out. And it was disappointing because we had 20 students at first, and then it got down to 14 by the end. So 6 students had to drop out. And we did follow up with them and try to ask, like, why did you drop out? And most of the time they just said, I'm just too busy. Like, it's nothing against the course. It's just that I took on too many responsibilities. So yeah, so I guess that would be the hardest thing from my perspective, is that I wish the course could be assigned for credit, like a regular course, so the students could receive a grade, and it would be as important as the other courses that they're taking.
And it should be really good. It should be really good. Even if the students had a lot of things to do during the week, we can see that they participated a lot. Like there is one student, I don't remember his name, but he came like in the third class, and he was motivated to do the tasks, to do all the activities. And it's good to see this, how students take this as a volunteer subject,
Yeah.
but they do it.
Yeah, the ones who stay are amazing. And I see that Liliani is mentioning about a question about cultural differences, and I didn't really have any difficulties. In my experience, the students were wonderful. They talked a lot. They were very friendly, easy to work with. Yeah, I had a great experience. So no, I mean, the only difference maybe is that Brazilians are friendlier than Americans or other international students. But yeah, no real challenges from my perspective.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Something that I could see is that we could bring some examples from Minas Gerais, like what do you prefer, feijoada or feijão tropeiro? So we
It's a good
could bring
warm-up
some
activity.
specific things, yes. But it was really good. Do we have any more question? I don't think so. and it's 3:14. So yeah, no questions.
Great.
So Kate, I would like to thank you again for joining us in this roundtable, for your time, right?
Yeah,
I know
I'm
you have
happy
to
I can do
teach this afternoon.
it. Yeah, I have to teach in about an hour. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but thank you very much. Thank you, Liliane. Thank you, the
Yes.
Secretaria de Relações Internacionais, for having us. Thank you, Julio, who helped us with the StreamYard.
Yes.
And also, and last but not the least, I'd like to thank you, the people who were with us in the chatting, asking
Mhm.
questions, interacting. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you all very much. I really enjoyed the experience.
Me too, Kate. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.